Oh, chubbicorn.
Hi, I'm Mr. Sandamont, and I'm going to show you how to draw a fantasy map. We're going to start off by drawing a compass rose, which tells us the direction, the relative direction of our map. So we'll start by drawing a vertical line, and then a horizontal line. And then we'll draw a little X in the middle of that. And then simply connect the ends of the longer lines to the ends of the shorter lines. And you're going to create the points that will point in the directions north, south, east, and west. If you want, you can use a ruler. I'm just sketching it out, just keeping it casual. Okay, so then after I draw this last line, what I like to do is shade one side of every point. So I use the shading lined up with the X in the middle. So we have the left side of the bottom, we'll have the bottom side of that right point, and then we'll have the right side of the top point, and then the top side of the left point there. Okay, now I'm going to use some fantasy looking text to write the direction. So here we have north, and we'll draw south, and then east, and of course west. Okay, so after that, we're going to draw some trees. I'm going to show you guys how to draw really simple trees on a map. They don't have to be too detailed. They're just basically symbols of trees. So I like to start with some sketchy circles, and then simply adding a little trunk. And then I'm going to start overlapping these circles and trunks to create a forest. So that's really all you need. You can just keep adding overlapping little circles with little stems or trunks if they're visible. And if you want, you could add little detail like I'm doing right now, just like leaf detail, but you don't have to. The trees can stay like that, circles and sticks, and still look like they represent a forest. So this is like a deciduous forest. And then I'll draw some hills behind this forest, northeast of the forest, I should say. So you can see how the hills overlap each other, and then maybe some trees that are going in the distance between the hills. And then these hills are going to go eastward, and they're going to start to get bigger and more rocky as they lead to a mountain range. So those are the foothills, and then you'll start to see the points that represent mountains. And again, overlapping those peaks to create some dimension. And then I'll add some more in the foreground here, and I'm going to build up for a volcano. So here's our big volcano coming out of the mountain range, some lava flowing down the slopes, and then we'll have some smoke coming off the top of that volcano. And I'll shade the bottom. Again, these are just symbols. It's a little bit detailed, but that's okay. And also this map's from the side. It's like you're floating in a hot air balloon. So it looks more 3D. Okay, now I'm going to draw some pine trees. Pine trees are simple, just little cones with sticks at the bottom. And then you overlap those. I'm not really overlapping them right now, but you'll see here. I'm going to just start to add some more. So there's some trunks and then some background triangles. And so this can represent a pine forest. And then I'll draw some pine trees going up into the mountains. Alright, next I will draw a river flowing out from this forest. So you can assume that the snow melt creates this river runoff, and then this river will go diagonally south and then it will get wider as it goes, and then we'll finish that later. But for now, I'm going to draw some random ravine. So this is like a crack in the ground. It could have been formed from an earthquake or from wizard power or something. So you start by drawing flat zigzags, and then from every point that goes into the middle of this ravine, you draw a little curved line, slightly curved line, and stop it when it hits another line. And then I'm drawing some vertical texture lines just to show that the ravine goes down into the ground. Okay, so now we're going to add some grasslands. So between the ravine and the two forests and the hills, we have maybe some prairie lands, or like a savanna if it's in Africa or something. So just a lot of grass, flat land and grass. And then over here to the west of the ravine, I'll add a series of sand dunes. And so these are they're like a cross between hills and mountains. They're low like hills, but they have peaks like mountains. And then I always like to draw a little bit of a curved line to show the windswept side of these dunes. So it's a large sand dune area, uninhabitable. And then I'll add some cactus at the edges of the sand dunes to give it that desert landscape look. Again, these are just symbols, just to show that there is a dry, arid environment. And then maybe a cow skull just at the bottom there. And then just some sand, just dots for sand if you want, little textural dots. Okay, next I'm going to continue this river down until it becomes a waterfall. So in order to have a waterfall, you need to have a cliff. So I'm going to have this river work its way forward, zigzagging, and then it's going to just drop off right here. And then to its left and right, we're going to have mountains. So you have to have, the water has to funnel through some sort of mountain range, and then of course dropping off where there's a cliff. So there's the cliff, just a really rough sketch line to mark that up. And then the waterfall will splash below. And usually at the bottom of a waterfall, you have mist, so it's like the water is being pulverized, like vaporized by the impact. And you also have boulders. The boulders are a combination of rocks that have been exposed when the silt is moved away, and it's also rocks that have fallen from the cliff and just settle there. So that's why you always see rocks at the base of a waterfall. And then the river will come forward to create a lake. Okay, so we have the edges of the lake, and then I think I'll draw an island in the middle of this lake once I finish the shoreline on each side. And then where that island meets the water, you see how it's curved, so it gives it that 3D look. It's not flat. And a little bit of water flow coming out into the lake there. And then I'll draw some wetlands. So this is like a swamp area. And those are actually symbols of reeds. So you have the grasses growing out from the swampy water. And then I'll draw a cave. So this is where maybe an evil wizard or witch lives. So some low-lying hills. Then the base of the cliff. So there we have the lines of the cliff there. And then this will be where the cave is. So I have the opening, and then I like to draw just the inside wall, and then the base of that, and then shade it in from the back. So there's a little bit of an opening there. And then I'll also, just to add to the effect of a swamp, I'm gonna add trees that look really like unhealthy and swampy. They're full of moss and algae hanging off of them. I think it's moss. Just to give it a humid, swampy look. So all the trees have that type of moss hanging off each branch. Couple more little hills, and then I think I'm going to add some detail on this island. So I'll start off with some palm trees, give it maybe a tropical look, or maybe the inhabitant who lives there planted these trees. So maybe they're artificially planted there and maintained. So let's draw 2 palm trees here. So we have the trunk and then just the shaggy looking palm fronds. And then I'll have a little lonely shack on the top of this island. So it has a rough thatched roof, a simple door, and then a little path that leads down to the beach. So it wraps around the island. And then I think I'll make this little path lead to a dock. Go. Draw the other base of the cliff on that side and make sure the drawing is all the way across. And now keep in mind, if you're looking at this video to create your own fantasy map, you don't have to draw the exact same thing. These are all just symbols that represent geographic features. So by all means, like scramble these up and create your own map. Okay, now for a castle. So we'll start off by drawing these turrets and parapets at the top so guards can defend the castle. I like to plan out the overall shape of this kingdom by the turrets first and then fitting everything else inside. So this is a large castle area. And then I'll connect all of these turrets or these towers by, I forget the name of it. It's a wall that guards can walk on top of. It'll come to me. Anyway, there's the base of the wall, and then we have the width of the wall where the guards can travel. I made that tower a bit too short, so I'll lengthen the bottom there. Especially where you can see the top of the wall, you want to show that the walkway, the path on top. And then we have the inner keep. This is where the royal family would live. So those walls, the castle walls on the outside, protect the inner village. And then this little building inside is where all the most important royal family is protected. So I have a large tower with a roof on top, and then some towers around it, and then a big door in the front. Again, just a symbol of a castle. I'm getting kind of detailed here, but I wanted to draw an isometric angle, so it's like 3D and it gives it more of a dimension. And then another tower in the back to protect the back side of this keep. Another wall there. Now inside of the walls we have a village. So this is where the commoners would live, blacksmith would work, all the different jobs of around the castle. So peasants live down here. So they're all just little simple houses. Alright, that's about enough detail for that. And then I'll draw the main door will go on that side, and this is the big, I guess you can call it a drawbridge. I'm not going to have a moat though, so just the big door. And then a path that goes to a bridge, and then there's a small village across the river that is somehow connected with that castle. Maybe they're allies or they're under the protection of the kingdom there. So small houses, just kind of jumbled together. And then maybe a little fountain in the middle. And just a bunch of, oh, there's a tower. So maybe a wizard or maybe the mayor or somebody, the lord of that town lives there. And then a couple more little houses just to represent a small village. All right, now west of the village we have a cemetery. So we'll have a little gate and then a fence all around it. And then just the little lines of the fence. And then I'll draw a bunch of gravestones, so just like tombstones, just symbolizing that that is a cemetery. If you look at it right away, you can tell. Okay, now west of the cemetery, we'll have ancient ruins. So a destroyed castle or some large building that long ago was overtaken, or the original king moved out or died or was attacked. So I like to start to draw a box shape just to know what I need to destroy. So we're going to now draw the front door, and then I'm going to start to draw like maybe a tower has fallen over and it's sunken into the ground. So it's been, you know, decades or centuries since this place has been inhabited. And then I like to break down the walls. So you can see how I drew like broken top of the wall and then some cracks, making sure that there's no way that somebody could live there. It's been totally gutted. There's no roof, no towers left, no way that somebody could live in there. So, and then a bunch of debris buried into the ground all around it. So just a symbol for ancient ruins. Okay, going back to this castle, we need to have farmland. So somehow they need to be able to make enough food to feed all the villagers and the king's family. So I just draw big patches of like geometric, you know, parallelograms and trapezoids. And then I'll draw a little farmhouse where the fields converge. And a farmhouse over there, so a small farming family. And then maybe let's draw right here a windmill. So somehow they, you know, maybe they use the wind power to crush to mill all of the flour that they harvest. And the roof of the windmill and a couple windows. And then I'll draw rows of the crops in all of these shapes. Alright, we're all finished. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you next time.